The downfall of positive thinking. So I'm sure that you're wondering, is there really a downfall to positive thinking? And I'll let you be the one that's going to determine that, but I'm going to go through and kind of talk about what positive thinking looks like in the human energy field and what it's like to be Pollyanna and to be enthusiastic and what can be all the bits that might just lead to the downfall of constantly being an optimistic person. So, hi, my name is Nancy Rebecca. If you're new to my channel, I talk about anything that has to do or influence or impact the human energy field. And today, that conversation is about optimism. And why do I like to talk about this? Because I was the ultimate, and still am on many levels, the ultimate optimist. I was always seeing the good side of people, the positive side of events. If problems happened, I just would say, it's going to work out. We just don't know how it's going to work out yet. And so I looked up what the definition of Pollyanna means. So Pollyanna is a term and it means excessively, I'm laughing, excessively cheerful, optimistic, and I loved this word, irrepressible optimism. So, how many of you have irrepressible optimism? And how many of you don't have irrepressible optimism and you get really annoyed by people who do? I have a lot of people that don't trust me very much when I'm like really positive, or they don't trust, they say, I don't trust people who are super positive because, it's like they're not in reality. So let's kind of go through and kind of define what optimism might look like for most people. All right, number one, tends to find the good in everything. And we like being around people like that, right? Especially if you're kind of like think of Eeyore in what was that little bear's name? Oh my God, I swear as I get older, I'm having Christopher Robin and Winnie the Pooh. Oh my God. And so ER was just always kind of like slow and it's just like nothing's going to work out. So we like to be around people who can be cheerful, or if you're sharing your problems with them, it's like you want to have an optimistic person in your side pocket who's going to say, you've got this. I think you're incredible. You're wonderful. You're the most courageous person I've ever met. And you're like, yeah, you're right. And you go out and you give it all you've got. And then all of a sudden you're like feeling negative and critical and judgmental about yourself again. And you go run to that optimistic person to get your fuel tank filled. But number two, the optimistic person can see the rainbow at the end of the tunnel, right? So it's like, there's going to be a rainbow at the end of this lightning thunder storm filled with tornadoes. I just know it. We just have to wait for the rainbow. And I'm laughing because I am truly like this on every level until I'm not. All right. And then number three, you can see where you are going and where it's going to end up is a fantastic place. Number four, you can see the best in everyone, no matter how they're behaving. It's like, well, we don't know what happened in their childhood. Guilty. We don't know what's going on in their life right now. Guilty again. You just need to learn to walk a mile in their shoes. Then maybe you might have a little bit more patience for their abusive behavior. Guilty. So I'm not like that as much now, but I've been at this for 30 years. And I started off a lot that way and I've learned a lot along the way. So I'm going to share what those tips are. And so I remember once one of my teachers said, Nancy, you're so nice and you're so positive, but did you know that that's a coping mechanism so nobody can get mad at you? And I was like, Wow, I could have gone all year without hearing that. And I can't unhear it now that I heard it. And so, but what it did for me was it really helped me to look at those aspects of myself to say, oh, if I'm super nice, nobody's going to yell at me or nobody's going to get mad at me. So this is just one aspect of what I'm talking about today. Is there a downfall to being positive, to being optimistic, to being pollyannish? So let's just go in a little bit more. So then I write on my paper, but you might tend to find the good in everything, but you still have to climb over or through all those obstacles at times to find the good. And that's what we can't just sugarcoat that, right? You see the rainbow at the end of the tunnel, but when you're in the middle of the tunnel, how are you going to remember that there might even be a rainbow? All right. Number 3, you can see where you are going and where you're going to end up, but yes, your energy's way in the future and you're not fully present in the present moment to deal with what needs to be dealt with in the present moment to help get you to those places in the future. So when your spirit's all the way in the future to imagine all these great things that are going to happen for you, you can't manifest your life in the future. You gotta be here grounded in your body. And then number 4, you can see the best in everyone. And like I wrote on my paper, oh, you don't really mean that. Oh my God. I've had some mean things said to me. I'm sure I'm not the only one in the world. And I've said, I just know that they don't really mean that. They're just having a bad day. So yes, number 4, but you see the best while they're stabbing you in the back. So I've had that happen too. Have you? Like, have you really, really just have seen the best side of everyone and then yet they pull the rug out from underneath you? I remember once I had a friend. She said to me, this is one of those other aha moments. She said, it's really hard for me to be your friend. I'm like, really? And she said, yeah, because you see me in such a positive, bright, brilliant light. You see my potential. You see where I have the capacity to go. And so when I'm hanging out with you, I always feel like I have to rise to that occasion. And I don't feel like I can just be myself and my grumpiness or my sluggishness or my laziness or I don't give a ripness. So that was a real eye-opener for me as well, that I needed to be in relationship and be okay right where my family was, my friends were, my students were, my clients were, without thinking that they needed to go to the next level. And when I'm doing readings with clients, I cannot tell you, I'm going to laugh again. Oh my God. I think one of the top things that Spirit likes to tell people, and I've had readings from people and I'm told the same thing, and lots of people have come in to see me and they've been told the same thing. You need to write a book. I see you writing a book. You need to write a book about your story. And that's true. I've met fantastic people who really need to write a book, but not everyone's meant to write a book. But Spirit comes through a lot and says, you need to write a book. I am, before I die, going to write a book. But my Spirit's been telling me this for 30 years. So it doesn't necessarily mean I'm ever going to write a book, but I am going to write a book. All right. But Spirit will come through and say, you're an amazing healer. If you decided to start working with people and helping people to heal, your spirit would just be so content. Like, there's a lot of things your spirit is going to see your potential. But your spirit's not the only one present in the room in your life. You have a physical body as well. And so I'm going to get a little bit more into that as we go. So my daughter, who's probably one of the most incredible, has such incredible psychic skill, She said to me once, she said, I'm a realist because, I was asking her about her abilities and what she does with them and things like that. She goes, I'm a realist. So I said, well, how do you define being a realist? And she said, how I define it is if you're happy, be happy. If you're mad, be mad. But if you're mad, don't pretend to be happy. And so that's another one of those points where it's like, I really got what she was saying. That our spirit is so optimistic, but our body, not so much all the time. Our bodies can feel, our humanness can feel angry and rageful and nitpicky and critical and pessimistic, which I'll make a whole other video about that one. But be pessimistic and not be able to see the forest through the trees, not be able to believe that there's a rainbow at the end of the tunnel. And so that's where you need to bring those two into balance. If your body is mad and angry and enraged, you need to provide a safe environment for your body to be able to express that, not just by kind of sugarcoating it and saying, they're there now, let's be more positive than that. So, and I know I'm probably talking to a good 60% of humanity. Okay. So, when I'm seeing clients and they come in and they're like, hi, my name is Nancy. You must be Patricia, and nice to meet you. How are you doing today? I am better than fantastic, and I'm super fantastic because I've looked forward to this appointment and I look forward to meeting you, and it's just like happy, happy, joy, joy. And you can feel it. You can feel that the frequency in the room just really took off like a rocket ship into this high frequency of happiness. And it's like, oh my gosh, this reading is just going to go so good. This person is so like joyful and optimistic. And then you get into it and I go to tune into the client. And then there is this kind of quiet in the body. It's almost like walking into a dark house where all the lights are turned off and the temperature's turned down. And it's like nobody's home here. Now, I'm giving this one example, but it's not, it's more normal than not, is what I'm trying to say. It's more normal than not. So what happens is that when you're incredibly, what is the word? Irrepressible optimism. Irrepressible optimism. You can't shut that person's optimism down no matter what you do. Their spirit will be right up here in the spiritual chakra where everything is rainbows and unicorns. And I'm not trying to make fun of anybody who's like that, because I'm talking about me. I'm talking about who I was and what I've grown and matured into truly understanding true optimism. So that's where we're going to go in this video. What is true? What is false optimism? And what is true optimism? So when someone comes in and they may feel optimistic, but there's a lot going on in here. It's like there's a lot going on in the lower chakras, but the spirit is not down in the body to really know what the body's thinking. All right, so I'm going to throw myself under the bus again by telling you my story. When I learned that I wasn't really connected to my body, I could find myself going all day without eating. I didn't even know I was hungry because I was disconnected. I probably didn't even drink water all day because I never felt my body's thirst or my body's hunger because I was disconnected to how my body was feeling. Sometimes, my ex-husband could say some really mean things to me, or somebody teased me, and it really wouldn't land that strongly because I couldn't feel it. My body might try to express, but it's like I just pour that sugar bowl on top of it just a little bit more. And and then I would tell myself things like, oh, they didn't really mean that. They must be having a bad day, so that I could preserve my irrepressible optimism. And then I started meditating. And so when I started meditating, my spirit came further into the body, and that's when I could feel hungry or thirsty, or that's when I could feel, hey, that's not okay what you just said. That's when I could start to set boundaries, because I could feel that the boundary was crossed. But when I was super optimistic, I didn't think I needed to set boundaries with anybody. And I wanted to be positive and uplifting to people. And I do, that comes through in my videos, that level of hope. But it's also, we can't ignore those other aspects of what we're feeling. So like my daughter said, if you're happy, be happy. If you're mad, be mad. But if you're mad, don't pretend to be happy. But if you can't feel it because you're floating a little bit above your physical body and the human chakras, then you may truly say, like I did one day, I don't have an angry bone in my body. And the crazier thing is, I believed it hook, line, and sinker until the day I got angry. And until the day I got so enraged, I felt so much rage. I'm going to call it murderous rage. I had to go into my room and lock the door, and I had to just tell people, you do not want to come in here. And when I hit that rage, it lasted for days. Because why? My body was like, yeah, forget your spoonful of sugar. I'm done with your sugar. I'm done with your optimism. I'm done with your pollyannish ways. Like, I'm pissed and I have a lot to be angry about. And if you're not going to express that anger in when it's needed to be expressed, well, then I'm going to express it when it doesn't need to be expressed. So that's what I want to point out as well. Like, how many of you have not expressed anger your whole life, and then when you do it, it's like the punishment doesn't fit the crime. So it's like your child is loading the dishwasher and they dropped a cup on the floor and it broke, and then it's like your rage just hits the ceiling, and now you're going to rage for days on end. Yeah, that punishment doesn't fit the crime, and that punishment and that anger doesn't belong to that person. It belongs to all those places in your life before that moment where you didn't let yourself express anger, and where now it's all got to come out like an erupting volcano. Okay, so back to the optimistic clients, that's the work we start doing. So if any of you know that you've got optimism, pollyannish, as a coping mechanism to survive in life, yeah, definitely maybe talk therapy is going to help you out. I know it did for me. Or seeing an energy worker, or acupuncture or body worker, all of those things can really help get you back in touch with the reality of your body and what your body's feeling. So your physical body, it feels jealous. It feels angry. It feels sad. It feels petty. It can have 1,000 different feelings, but you are not going to know that if you're not really in touch with what's going on. So, true happiness, true optimism is when you are okay with the highs and lows of who you are. It's like, whoa, whoa, I'm feeling it today. I don't even want to be around people. It's like I'm sick and tired of the news. The world's going to hell in a handbasket. It's like this. Let's get this clear. This is your body's fear. This is your body's hopelessness. This is your body's thinking things are terrible in the world. And so rather than pouring the sugar bowl on it, say, hey, tell me, body, tell me a little bit more about what's got you triggered right now. And that is where you just sit down and you talk to your body and say, hey, you've got every right to feel fearful. You've got every right to feel like the world is going to end. How long do you need to feel like that? And then your body goes, well, maybe 10 minutes. And I'm like, all right, let's sit with that for 10 minutes. Let's sit with that grumpiness. And you just get to be as grumpy as you want. And you can storm around the house being grumpy. You can write in your journal all that grumpiness. You can talk out loud in that grumpiness, go for a walk and say, bubba, 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 bubba. And then once the 10 minutes is up, then you check with your body and how do you feel? I feel so much better. Thank you for not trying to pour the sugar bowl on my head again. Now, I'm laughing because it took me a long time to autocorrect. It took me a long time, a few years, to shift that default program into constant optimism. It does take time. Like when my body was angry and I'm like, what are you angry about? And my body would say, I don't know. I don't know why I'm angry. I'm like, okay, that's okay. You don't have to know why you're angry. And I would tell my body, you know what? You've got a lot of reasons to be angry from some things that happened in childhood. Yeah, that's it. When I was a child, I didn't get to be angry. I didn't get, because if I got angry, I got in trouble or I got spanked. And so I'm like, okay, how long do you need to feel that anger that you didn't get to feel when you were 6 years old? And then you let your body feel it. I promise you, it doesn't happen for days or weeks or months. Your body's so sweet that it's like, thank you for letting me feel that anger and not getting angry at my anger. And so your body starts to get very responsive. So again, true happiness, true optimism is when you are okay with the highs and the lows. It's okay, body. It's okay. You're going to get on the other side of this. But let's not skip to the end of the line. Let's feel this right now. Let's express this. What do you want to say? And so, because what can happen a lot, it's like that power booster. You're angry. You don't know why you're angry. And I call this the guided missile. So I've had people in my life like this. They don't know why they're angry, but the guided missile has that little beaker light on it, beacon of light on it, and it's searching beep, 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 beep. It's trying to find someone or some place that it can just blast off that rage. And the rage has nothing to do with anybody in that room or your work or anything. It has to do with the fact that your mom or dad might have been abusive, or you were overly controlled or whatever. So that's a whole nother topic. It's about putting it where it belongs, but you don't really have to put it anywhere. You just let your body you're in rage. Let's go for a walk while you rage a little bit. Okay. So the wrap up here is you are more than your body. Yes, you are a spiritual being, but you are also more than your spirit. You are a human being. Your body is not to be ignored, and your spirit wants to help you manage those overpowering emotions, those beautiful emotions of the body. Because, yeah, I'm talking about jealousy or sadness or grief or rage. But on the flip side, whoa, how many of you do not let your body feel joy? How many of you will not let yourself, like you've forgotten what it's like to laugh? Your body likes to be joyful. Your body likes to laugh. Your body might be 53 years old and want to skip down the sidewalk. And you're like, I'm 53. I can't skip. And your body's like, yeah, but you didn't let me skip when I was 3 either. So at what point in my life are you going to let me skip? So find a quiet place to go skip, to let your body kind of express some of that childlike wonder. Now, I do know a lot of people do the work with the inner child. That can kind of fit in here, but I've also watched a woman who was like, at a wedding in a beautiful gown who said, my inner child came out and wanted to act like this. And it's like, no, your inner child doesn't get to rule the roost here. So anyway, that's a whole nother video. So listen to your team. Your physical body is your team. Your spiritual body is your team. The God of your heart is your team. Maybe you've got some guides and angels that are your team. And maybe you've got family members around or loved ones around that if they're healthy and they're part of your team, that you may want to listen to that team as well. If someone is saying, wow, you're being kind of super grumpy today, is there any way I can support you? And you go, I'm not grumpy, I'm irrepressibly positive. I'm being positive. But people can feel when you're holding the lid of anger down. So you might want to listen to your team as well. All right, I could go on and on, but I am going to tell you, I healed from my, what would I call it? I don't know. I healed from my deeply rooted, pollyannish, irrepressible optimism. I was able to listen to my body. I was able to know when I was hungry. I was able to know when I was tired. I was able to know when I was thirsty. I was able to know when it was time to meditate. I was able to know when I'm in a toxic situation and I need to take care of this body and make my way out of the party or out of the situation so that my body learns that I'm going to keep it safe. I'm not going to ignore it. All right, everyone. But there is a place for optimism. So there is a place for positiveness, and even more so, there's a great amount of room for hope. All right, everyone, take care. I look forward to you on the next video. And don't forget to subscribe if you want to continue to be notified when I release a new video. All right, take care. Bye-bye.